On Christmas Eve, my brother blocked the doorway like a guard dog, the living room glowing behind him, tree lights, kids' laughter, the warmth I was supposed to belong to. I stood on the porch, with snow soaking through my boots and gifts numbing my fingers when he smirked and said, "No place for losers." My dad looked at the floor. My mom adjusted an ornament that didn't need fixing, and on the table behind them, a red envelope marked "To Ryan on." From Mom and Dad burned like a warning I had ignored my whole life. But what they didn't know was this: losing them was the first time I stopped losing myself. Before I go any further, tell me where you're watching from, and hit like and subscribe if you've ever been hurt by the people who were supposed to protect you. Family betrayal doesn't always scream or slam doors. Sometimes it smiles at you across a holiday table and pretends it's love. I didn't come from a broken home. That's what makes all of this harder to explain. From the outside, the Reed house looked painfully normal. 2 stories beige siding, a basketball hoop Ryan never fixed, and a worn doormat that said welcome, even though I was never sure it meant me. Inside, the imbalance wasn't loud. It was quiet. Subtle. Like gravity leaning slightly toward my brother. Even as a kid, I could feel myself tilting. One of my earliest memories is sitting at our small wooden kitchen table, my feet dangling above the floor. Mom slid a stack of bills toward me like they were homework. The kitchen smelled of burnt toast and cheap spaghetti sauce. "You're good with numbers, honey," she said, brushing hair from my forehead. "One day, you'll save us." I was 7. 7. Ryan was on the couch yelling at a video game, oblivious to how I was already being drafted into a role I never auditioned for. When I was 8, I came home waving a paper with a bright red A+ on it, the kind teachers draw when they're proud. Mom barely glanced. She was busy telling Dad how Ryan almost passed his math test this time. Dad cheered, slapped Ryan's back, and promised to reward him if he kept trying. My paper ended up on the fridge behind a grocery list until it fell off 2 days later. That was the first time I understood something without having words for it. Effort mattered less than who you were. By 16, I was working evening shifts at a grocery store. My hands always smelled like cardboard and citrus cleaner. Every paycheck went straight home because Ryan couldn't focus on school being broke. When I overheard him bragging to his friends about using my money to buy concert tickets, he laughed like it was a family joke. I laughed too. Not because it was funny, because it was safer. Then came college, the moment I should have escaped. I received an email offering me an internship in Boston, competitive paid, the kind of opportunity that tilts a life forward. I remember staring at the screen in my dim dorm room, heart racing. For a moment, I saw a version of myself that didn't belong to anyone. Then Mom called, sobbing. Ryan had maxed out a credit card. Collections were calling. "He listens to you," she cried. "Please, Emma, we're drowning." I stayed. I worked double shifts at the campus library while Boston slipped through my fingers like steam. Mom praised me. Dad nodded. Ryan didn't even say thank you. That pattern hardened as I grew older. Emma, the responsible one. Emma, the fixer. Emma, the one who understands. Mom said it like a blessing. It felt like a lifetime sentence. And then there was the wedding. The night before, music and laughter spilled from the reception hall. Mom pulled me aside and handed me paperwork. "Just a formality for the venue deposit," she said too quickly. "Ryan needs a co-signer." I was exhausted. I signed. And I didn't know I had just handed over a weapon that would come back years later with my name on the blade. But not everything was cold back then. Sometimes there were small, dangerous moments of warmth that kept me loyal. Like last Christmas when Lauren and I wrapped gifts and Ryan put a hand on my shoulder saying, "Couldn't survive without you, Em." I thought he meant it. I didn't realize he meant my wallet. The older I got, the more I learned to read the Reed house like weather. Mom's anxiety clinked in her coffee spoon long before she brought up money. Dad's jaw tightened when he was about to disappear into silence. And Ryan, he always smiled right before he lied, wide, charming, confident. A smile that fooled everyone except me. One Thanksgiving still sits in my chest like a stone. The house smelled like turkey and sage stuffing, the kind of fragrance that should feel warm. But I remember staring at my plate while Mom piled the best pieces onto Ryan's. "You're watching your figure," she said without looking at me. I wasn't watching anything. I was starving for fairness, not food. Lauren nudged her plate toward me under the table. "You can have some of mine," she whispered. I shook my head and pretended not to care. But that night in the car, the silence tasted like metal. Some moments were small but sharp. Like when Ryan crashed my car and shrugged, "You'll fix it," as if I was a built-in cleanup crew. Or when I overheard my parents, late one night, Dad trying to say I was carrying too much. Mom insisting Ryan had a harder life. Harder than what I wondered. Harder than the daughter who held the entire family together with duct tape and guilt. But the heaviest crack came the year before everything imploded. It was early December. Thin snow coated the lawn windows, glowing with warm light. I stopped by after work with a box of cinnamon cookies, the same recipe my grandmother used, the one tradition I still believed in. Inside, Mom paced with her phone pressed to her ear. Dad sat hunched at the kitchen table. "What's wrong?" I asked. Mom clutched her chest like she'd been waiting for me. "It's your brother," she said. He's behind on the mortgage again. They could lose the house. I felt that familiar tightening in my ribs, the reflex that said, "Fix it, Emma." I didn't have much that month, but I nodded anyway. Mom's relief came too fast, too practiced. As I walked down the hallway to grab my coat, I heard her whisper to Dad, "Thank God for Emma. She'll always save us. Not Ryan. Us." As if I were the family's personal insurance policy. I sat in my car afterward, breathing through a pressure I couldn't name. Loyalty shouldn't feel like suffocation. But mine did. Still, I kept showing up. I kept hoping. I kept believing that one day someone would choose me the way I kept choosing them. But the last memory before Christmas Eve finally killed that hope. I dropped by with another batch of cookies. Snow reflected off the windows, the house glowing golden. Inside, everyone laughed, everyone except me. Ryan tossed a beer cap at my shoulder. "Hey, since you're doing so well, think you can cover the kids' camp again? Again. Always again." I nodded, because that's what Emma was trained to do. He smirked at Mom. "See. Told you she'd say yes." Mom didn't deny it. Dad looked away. Driving home, my chest felt bruised from the inside, the kind of ache that comes from carrying weight too long. I didn't realize it then, but the version of me they relied on depended on blood dry. That version was dying. And by next Christmas Eve, she'd be gone. The morning after Christmas Eve didn't feel like a morning at all, more like a quiet aftermath. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee turning cold, gifts for the kids still stacked by the door like unopened mistakes. Outside, snow fell in lazy flakes, soft and peaceful, completely opposite of the noise in my head. Out of habit, I opened my laptop to check work emails. Instead, a banking reminder blinked on the screen. Scheduled payment, Ryan Reed mortgage support. My stomach dropped. I clicked into my account, and there it was. Month after month of withdrawals, mortgage utilities, daycare school lunches. All of it under Ryan's name. Money I earned. Money I needed. Money I had poured into a black hole disguised as family responsibility. I didn't break down. I didn't even flinch. I simply hovered over the first line and clicked cancel. Then the next. Cancel. Then the next. Each click felt precise. Surgical. Like cutting away a tumor I'd lived with so long I'd forgotten it wasn't normal. By the time the last payment disappeared from the schedule, a strange quiet settled over me, heavy, warm, final. My apartment felt wider, the air easier to breathe. For the first time in years, silence didn't feel like punishment. But silence never lasts in my family. By noon, my phone buzzed. "Ryan, you could have at least dropped off the presents. Kids are crying." I answered with one word. "No." Seconds later, "Ryan, what's your problem?" I didn't reply. Let him feel the confusion I'd carried my whole life. 2 days passed. Peaceful ones. Then the flood came. "Ryan, hey, call me. Ryan, rent's due. You know that. Ryan, kids need new shoes. Ryan, why are you ignoring us? Ryan, this is messed up. Ryan, you're selfish. Ryan, money changed you. Ryan, answer me." I muted the conversation. The silence afterward felt like the first real boundary I'd ever drawn. But he wasn't done. 3 days later, as I walked out of the office toward the parking garage, I felt something shift in the air. You know that instinct when your body reacts before your mind catches up. "Emma," yeah, I turned. Ryan was striding across the lot, breath fogging in the cold. His coat hung open, face red from anger or alcohol, I couldn't tell. "You think you can just cut us off?" he hissed. "You think you're better than us now?" People nearby slowed down, pretending not to listen. A coworker paused mid-step, holding her keys a little too long. My chest tightened, not from fear but humiliation. "Not here," I said quietly. "Lower your voice." "Oh, now you're embarrassed," he snapped. "You weren't embarrassed when you were paying all our bills." I stepped back. He followed. "You're blowing up this family," he spat. "You're gonna regret this." His words weren't threats. They were confessions. His lifeline had been cut, and he didn't know how to breathe without it. I kept my voice steady. "Go home, Ryan." He laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "Home Lauren barely talks to me. All she does is cry because you put ideas in her head." I froze. Ideas. But before I could respond, he stormed past me, muttering curses, leaving me standing alone between rows of cars and exhaust fumes, heartbeat pounding in my ears. That night, my phone lit up again. Not Ryan this time. "Mom." She didn't say hello. "What are you doing to your brother?" she demanded. "He's not well. He needs us. He needs you." "Con no chet." Her voice hit harder than his shouting ever could. "Me," I whispered. "I can't keep paying for everything. You've always been the responsible one." She snapped. "Ryan has had a harder life. Con be it ma." There it was, the family script, the rewrite of reality. And then she slipped. "That loan from the wedding, your name is on it too." Remember, my world stilled. What loan? Silence. Long, telling. Then she hung up. And the ground I'd been standing on for years finally cracked. After Mom hung up, something inside me shifted, not a dramatic snap, but a quiet alignment. Like a picture finally hanging straight on the wall after years of tilting. I didn't cry, I didn't rage. I just grabbed my folder of documents and drove to Ryan and Lauren's house the next morning. I needed to see the truth from someone who wasn't lying to me. Lauren opened the door with dark circles under her eyes. Not makeup smudges, life smudges. "You. Okay," she whispered. "No," I said. "Are you?" She stepped aside without another word. The house looked worse than I imagined. Toys everywhere, unpaid bills spread across the table like confetti from a party. No one enjoyed the TV frozen on a sports betting ad. Noah and Lily ran down the stairs, throwing their arms around me. Aunt Emma, did you bring cookies? I forced a smile. Later, sweetheart. When they disappeared upstairs, Lauren motioned me into the kitchen. Her hands shook as she reached between cereal boxes and pulled out a manila folder. I need to ask you something, she said, voice barely steady. Did you really send? All this inside were printed screenshots, transfers from me to Ryan. Months, years. It looked worse in color. Yes, I said quietly. She swallowed. He told me it wasn't enough. That you were holding out on us. That taking care of us was your responsibility. My stomach tightened. There it was, the lie he had built around me like a cage. Lauren, where did the money actually go? She hesitated, then reached into a drawer. 2 casino withdrawal slips, dates matching my transfers. My fingers went numb. He hides things now, she whispered. His phone, his laptop, his jacket pockets. I don't know who he's lying to anymore, me or himself. I exhaled slowly, the realization heavy and sharp. He wasn't drowning. He was drilling holes in his own boat and demanding I keep bailing water. A few days later, Lauren texted, "Can we talk about the loan?" My heart sank. We met at a small cafe that smelled like burnt espresso and cold mornings. She slid into the booth, eyes red. I found something, she said, unlocking her phone. She zoomed in on a scanned contract. My signature. And beneath it, my mother's. Not where it belonged. On a clause that shifted the entire debt onto me if Ryan defaulted. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. She signed for you, Lauren whispered. Without telling you. It wasn't anger I felt. It was clarity. I'm done, I said quietly. I'm done being their solution. She nodded. I think I am too. That night, I sorted through years of financial records at my kitchen table. Bank statements, transfers, emails, receipts. The paper cuts stung, matching the sting in my chest. I didn't stop until everything was in a neat, merciless stack. My phone buzzed from an unknown number. Misread, a calm male voice. This is Daniel Cole. I believe Lauren told you I'd call. I sat up straighter. We've reviewed certain transactions, he continued. If your brother defaults, you're legally exposed. But there are steps we can take. Steps. Options. Something I never had in my family. Tell me what to do, I said. We talked for 30 minutes. When we hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: control. But the universe wasn't finished testing me. 2 nights later, just as I sat down with my laptop, the pounding started. Not knocking, pounding. The kind of pounding that makes the hinges rattle and your pulse spike. I knew that rhythm. I knew that anger. Ryan. And this time, he wasn't coming for money. He was coming for answers. The pounding hit my door hard enough to shake the frame. 3 hits. A pause. Then 3 more, angrier, louder, meant to scare. I stood up slowly, every instinct screaming at me to stay still. But I wasn't the same person who stood on that porch on Christmas Eve. Not anymore. When I reached the peephole, Ryan's face filled the glass, red, sweaty, twisted with the kind of rage only a cornered man carries. I unlocked the first latch, then the second, and opened the door just enough to block it with my body. What do you want? I said. He shoved his palm against the frame. Open it. No. His breath fogged between us, sharp with beer. You think you can humiliate me? Cut me off. Make me look weak. You did that yourself, I said. His eyes narrowed. You owe me, Emma. I'm your brother. Then you should have acted like one. He stepped closer. Let me in. Say what you came to say, I answered, unmoving. He sneered. Fine, you've ruined everything. Lauren's losing it because of you. The kids. Don't, I snapped. Don't use them. He glared. She wouldn't be talking to lawyers if you hadn't gotten in her head. A chill ran down my spine. Lawyers. So he knew. Before I could respond, a voice echoed from the end of the hallway. Ryan. He spun. I looked over his shoulder. Lauren stood under the flickering hallway light, coat over pajamas. Hair uncombed, hands shaking, but her spine straight. This isn't the place, she said softly. Oh, perfect, Ryan barked. You two teaming up now, great. Fantastic. Lauren walked toward us, pulling a folder from inside her coat. Not a flimsy folder, one thick with papers, highlighted lines, printed receipts. I met with a lawyer today, she said. Ryan's face lost its color. Lauren, stop. Don't do this. I know about the gambling, she whispered. About the withdrawals. About the money Emma sent. All of it. He turned on me, spit flying. You told her I didn't have to, I said. You left a trail. Lauren handed me the folder. I made copies, she said. Daniel has the originals. Ryan's voice broke. Lauren, please. You don't know what you're doing. She did. For the first time, she really did. You've been lying to all of us, she said. And using Emma to hide from it. The hallway felt frozen. Only the hum of the heater filled the silence. Ryan shook his head like denial could rewind the moment. This is insane. I provide for this family. You gamble, she cut in. You drain us. And you expect Emma to clean it up. His mouth opened, then closed. No excuse left. He looked at me, eyes wild. You think you're better than me? No, I said. I think I finally see you clearly. For a second, his rage faltered, then came back twice as desperate. This isn't over. It is for me. And for me, Lauren added. Ryan stared at both of us, breath shaking, then backed away. His footsteps echoed down the hallway, each step louder than the last until the stairwell door slammed shut. Lauren exhaled, folding into herself. I rested my hand on her shoulder. You're not alone, I said. The hallway was quiet again, but this time the silence felt earned. When Ryan's footsteps finally disappeared down the stairwell, the building felt different, hollow, in a way that wasn't sad, just honest. I closed the door, slid the chain across, and let my forehead rest against the wood. My pulse was still jittery, but my hands were steady. Behind me, Lauren stood in the living room, arms wrapped around herself. She looked smaller than she had in the hallway, like now that the danger had passed, the exhaustion was free to surface. Are you sure you're okay staying here? I asked. She nodded. I just need a place that isn't loud with excuses. I handed her a blanket. She sank onto the sofa and fell asleep almost instantly, like someone shutting down after holding too much for too long. Watching her breathe felt strangely grounding. Two women who finally stepped out of the roles everyone forced on us. The folder she'd given me sat on the coffee table. I opened it again. Casino withdrawals, account transfers, PayPal receipts. My name on payments I barely remembered making. And near the bottom, the document that froze me. My signature. And below it, my mother's on a clause that shifted all liability to me. A signature I never gave permission for. The betrayal didn't sting. It clarified. In the morning, I took the papers to Daniel. His office smelled like cedar and cold air, the walls lined with quiet confidence. This is forgery, he said, tapping the page. You have grounds to dispute the loan, and if your brother tries to drag you into anything else, we'll block it. So I'm not trapped? I asked. Not anymore. When I got home, I printed everything, every transaction, every contract, every screenshot, and placed them neatly into a new binder. I labeled it with one word. Proof. I didn't plan to use it tomorrow, or the next day. But knowing it existed felt like armor, something solid after years of sinking sand. They thought shutting the door on Christmas made me powerless. They thought cutting me out would keep their secret safe. They have no idea what happens when the family loser finally stops paying for everyone's mistakes. If you've ever been the outsider in your own family, the one who held everything together while everyone else tore it apart, then you know why that night changed me. I'm not the girl standing in the snow with gifts and hope anymore. I'm the woman who finally walked away from a table that never had a seat for me. If my story feels too familiar, don't leave just yet. Subscribe. Tell me where you're watching from, because this story isn't over. And if you've ever been an Emma, maybe it's time someone finally told your story too.